Welcome to Legalese, a weekly show dedicated to upbeat topics, stories of adventure, and legal talk, offering words of wisdom in and out of the courtroom. Now, here's your host, criminal defense attorney and lifelong adventurer, Mike Chastaine.
And good morning, Sacramento. Welcome to Legalese. We're so pleased that you're joining us this morning. I hope that this finds everyone healthy and feeling good and, having a positive attitude. I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about today is, we're still in the middle of this coronavirus situation. We're getting inundated with lots of information, some of which is true, some of which maybe isn't true. It's hard it's really hard to ferret that out. But what we're going to talk about today is, how to keep a positive attitude. I mean, the truth of the matter is there's the only thing that you can control right now is you. And so we're going to talk about some ideas and tips about how to do that. And to assist us in that, we have a special guest this morning. We have our good friend and often guest here, Jim Kaspari of Peak Business Coaching. Jim's been on the show several times. He is an author, a business coach, a web designer. Jim really does it all. He works for our office and does some things for us. So we're very pleased to have him. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Sacramento. Good morning, Mike and Elisa. Great to be here.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah. How are you feeling this morning, Jim?
I am good. I was up at 6, did my meditation, gratitude journal. We're going to be talking about some of those things that, give us a choice, give us hope, especially in a time like this. And, all through life, there's ups and downs. I'm just excited to be here. We've all been studying not just success principles, but life principles. And this is what it's really all about. So it's super awesome to be here.
This is what it's all, when it comes down to times like this and times of stress, the pressure's on, this is when it really shows, the work that you've done, the habits you've developed, they all get put to the test, I think is fair to say. And we're all being tested right now on many different levels.
Yeah. I mean, we talked, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before about, the extra stress that people are under, and it starts to show the cracks. And, things that might not have been a big deal under normal circumstances, the cracks start to widen and can become a bigger deal. And how do you combat that? So, well, why don't we jump right into it? So just to kind of further our introduction with you, Jim, as I've said to our audience who maybe hasn't met Jim before, he's the owner of Peak Business Coaching. He's the author of several books. He is a business coach. He has worked with some of the best coaches across the country over the years. He has some great ideas about, how to get through these kinds of times. And so we're very pleased that he's willing to join us this morning. So, Jim, to just jump into it, why don't you give us kind of your overview on, where people are at this point and, something that they should be focusing on to get them through the next 30 days or so.
All right, let's jump right in. I think the first thing I want to share is have hope. I mean, one of my favorite sayings that gets me through the toughest times in my life is, it's always darkest before the light. And we live in a country that is so incredible, whether you agree or don't agree with things that are going on or who's making decisions or that kind of thing doesn't really matter. What matters is human beings on this planet pulling together and taking what we want for our future and making it happen. There's examples of in 1776, people coming over from England and getting their freedom in the face of personal life threat, death, and the courage that it took to build the foundation of this country and the Constitution. And then a couple of brothers had this crazy idea that they could fly. And now, well, not now, we're not flying all over the place now, but we will be in a couple months, hopefully.
But we still can fly.
Then we have this crazy dream of going to the moon and walking on it. And we made that happen. If we can do those things, we can do anything. And human beings are absolutely incredible. And our brains are hardwired in a way that's really showing up. Elisa, you mentioned how in tough times, we can be out of our highest self. So there's a portion of our brain. It's the oldest evolutionary portion of the brain called the amygdala, and it's designed to, quote, keep us safe. And what it does is when threats pop up in our life, it could be a positive threat, like something, scary and big moving your life forward, or it can be things like this COVID-19 pandemic. And that's a big deal. But what happens is we use our incredible, powerful creativity and imagination, and we make up horrible things. So think about, and I've been doing this, and especially when I watch the news. And the news is good. It's good to be informed, but it's also, the news has a different story every day, and sometimes the opposite story. And there's predictions that are extremely scary. Could they come true? Yes, maybe. I don't know. The point I want to make is don't necessarily believe what your brain tells you, and don't believe everything in the news. I would actually recommend limiting some of the news, because 80% of it, 90% of it is negative, and it's designed to be sensational and get people addicted to it and come back and watch some more. And the other thing is pay attention and focus on some of the positive stories. Whether it's sanitation workers or people working in the stores or people on the front line, with their incredible courage and love, focus on that element of yourself and humanity. Like, human beings are incredible when we're living in our heart and we're living in our highest self. So I want to talk about that fear that pops up for all of us, and how do we let that go? How do we get out of our brain, or the amygdala in our brain, and get into our heart? Because that's what's going to keep us healthy. It's going to keep us safe, and it's going to get us through this and move forward. So there's an acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real. So I already talked about that. We make up stuff that's horrible and scary, and it feels scary in our body, but it's 98, 99% of the time it turns out better, or the bad stuff doesn't happen. If you hang on to that and you focus on that, it's going to cause stress in your life and negative emotions, which lowers your immune system, and that's the opposite of what we want. And the other thing is, it's just yucky. It doesn't feel good, right? We want to feel good. And right. I think what most of us don't realize in the moment is that it's a choice. Did you want to say something, Mike?
So I first, we're going to take a break here in just a minute, but just to sum that up, focusing on all the negative possibilities, because the news takes some information and then extrapolates it out to the worst possible scenario.
It projects in the future.
Right, which is not a reality yet, and may never be a reality. And then focusing on the positive things that are going on, and there are a number of positive things that are going on, is good for your health. As you say, that stress lowers your immune system. It makes you feel, bad. It lowers productivity. So there's all kinds of reasons why, taking care of yourself and keeping a positive attitude are so critical.
Right to you in a second here, but I just want to say that's such a good point, Mike, because the negative potential, because there's all kinds of potential right now, I feel like Jim was talking about, that, that's pulling us into all these potential negative futures. But for us to choose right now in a positive will direct things I think in the most generative course. And the one thing though that really concerns me is when people are getting afraid of other people. You just see it's just like they've got their masks on and everything, yet they walk, 20 feet away from someone else, yet they have masks and gloves on. And, when it started, I thought like people were really kind of connecting and still talking and smiling. And now I feel like it's just kind of,
Well, we just don't want to get into that. I mean, yesterday when we were out walking, we met a woman. We went up to the Fair Oaks Village, and we met a woman just walking along, and
we were looking at a building.
And she kind of gave us a history of the building.
Yeah, she's a local historian, and it was just really refreshing for somebody to actually stop. She stayed her a little distance away, and all of it, she took her mask off to talk with us, and. I just want to put that out there for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's not get in fear of each other, and let's help each other still and reach out and do nice thing like Topo did for us. Anyway, back to Jim.
Anyway, so sorry, Jim, but we did want to kind of give that shout out. So where we were when we talked in the last segment is to kind of sum it up. We want to avoid negative information. Being well informed with the news is great, but getting inundated with hours and hours and hours of the same stuff over and over probably is not healthy. We want to focus on the positive. So let's talk about that, Jim. What are your suggestions to help people focus on the positive when maybe they've lost their job, maybe there's just a lot of uncertainty in their lives? What kind of things should our listeners be considering to do?
Great question. And Elisa, that's such a good point. Whenever I'm out on the trail, I try to smile, keep a safe distance, obviously, wear a mask, that kind of thing. But you can smile with your eyes, even with a mask on. But say hi to people. The most counterintuitive thing in the world, and I really want people to remember the visual of going, it's not that far to go from your head to your heart. Right? Maybe 9 inches a foot, depending on your size. But that's what we all need to do. And if you lost your job and you're worried about buying food for your family, that's a horrible thing. And the most counterintuitive thing to think of is to reach out and help somebody else. But I will guarantee you it works every single time to just pick up the phone and call somebody or text somebody. Share some love, and we will get through this. We will work it out. The other thing that I think is important to remember, and I said this already, but I want to say it again, is it's a choice. Our mood is a choice. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't seem like it, but choose your mood. If you get into hope, faith, happiness, love, get above that emotional line, your brain, your subconscious, your intuition is going to help you get through this. When you're in fear, we focus on the problem and we're in blame and we're victims. But if we want to live and we want to get to where we want to go, we got to focus on what we want. Let go of what's happening. And the way to let that go is not being Pollyannish. It's not ignoring your feelings. Honor your feelings and honor what's happening. And one of the biggest things I've learned is the word acceptance. Now, accepting doesn't mean you like it. It doesn't mean you condone it, whether it's other people's behavior or your own situation. Acceptance is just, wow, this is what's happening. And
that's very
one
powerful.
of the biggest steps. It's super powerful. And then saying, okay, this is what's happening. What do I really want? What would be better? And focus on that. And then turn the fear, the negativity into powerful questions. For example, oh my God, this is horrible. I can't even believe it. I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. Turn that into, how can I feed my family? How can I get a job? What portions of the economy are thriving right now? Maybe you can be a delivery person. Maybe you can help out on the front line, even without medical care. There's people that probably help out with with galloning and putting on PPE equipment. So powerful questions, if you want a visual for that, it's turn that frown upside down. So you take the frown and turn it into what you want, and then ask a powerful question. Who can help me? How can I do this differently? What habits do I need to change? What actions can I take to improve this situation? So I love powerful questions.
Yeah, so let's break that down a little bit. So a mentor of ours, Blaine Elkers, coined the term white table. What you think about, you bring about. And I think if we sum this up, if you're thinking negative stuff all the time, oh, I can't get a job, oh, I'm going broke, oh, I'm, all of these bad things are going about, that's the reality that you'll manifest. If you turn those questions, you may be in the same situation, but you say, instead of, I can't get a job, how do I get a job? What are my new opportunities? What are the
what kind of job would I like? How could I serve?
Exactly. And you begin to think in those positive ways, you will begin to find a way to do that. The brain is an interesting thing because it will answer whatever question you ask, right? So if you ask, why don't I have any money? It'll give you 150 reasons why you have no money.
And it thinks you're saying I don't have any money,
right.
So it's going to keep creating I don't have any money, right,
right.
Jim?
Yeah, you guys are masters at this. Yep.
Right, but if you ask the question, if you ask your brain, how can I make more money? Then you will, again, get those answers. Your brain will start to come up with, well, you could try this, and you could do this side job, and you could begin this project, and, all of these things that you could do, it will start to spew the answers out, and then you can pick and choose from those. So, I think the point that you're making, Jim, and I wholeheartedly agree, is it is all about what you're thinking, which is your choice, right? You get to choose what you think. And
then I want to give a super important point here, because you guys are masters at focusing on the positive. You help a ton of people. You're studying this right along with me. What are life success tips? And I just want to give a really, really huge shortcut for people, because powerful questions are great and ideas are great. So going from fear to love, going from your negative mindset to your heart and your highest self is step one. And then focusing on the positive and asking powerful questions is step two. Now, just as you said, Mike, great ideas are going to come. And the biggest shortcut is just snip those wires from the negative portion of your brain. So these ideas, the next thing that's going to happen is, oh, I can't do that because of blah, blah, blah. So just let go of the excuses, let go of the reasons, and just take action. When you get that quiet, positive voice that's giving you ideas, just take action. My definition of suffering is knowing what to do and not doing it. And the longer you delay, the harder it is to take action. So just cut all that crap out of the situation. Maybe it could get worse, but this is pretty flippin' bad. So just take action. Can't make it worse. Right. Go for it.
Right. Yeah. So I always suggest to people, instead of saying why, coming up with a reason why you can't do this, why you can't be the, a best-selling author, why you can't be successful in your business, ask the question, what if? What if I was a best-selling author? What if I was successful in my business? What if I tried something new? And let that manifest itself. Because
and following Jim's process, let that manifest in,
exactly.
And then see how wonderful that is. And then even if your first action step is to smile over that feeling and that thought because how wonderful it is, that's taking an action. When you say, Jim, is just put a big smile on your face, and then
absolutely
feel the energy build that's motivating, that'll propel you to the first step.
Yeah, no,
I think a smile is a powerful tool. I've heard that it takes less muscles to smile than to frown. So save your energy and smile.
Well, yeah, try being unhappy and try being negative with a smile on your face. You just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's very challenging, and and it just feels better, right? To look on the bright side. I'm always reminded of that Monty Python movie, but The Life of Brian. Look on the bright side of life, right? But I can't help but laugh when I think of that scene. But the point here is that having a positive attitude and look and just start asking yourself the question, what if I could do this? I think it would make a huge difference in people's lives. It's the first, as you say, it's maybe the third step in your process, but it's the first step that people need to be taking. And good morning, Sacramento. Welcome back to Legalese with Mike Chastaine. We're so pleased that you're joining us this morning. We are joined by our guest, Jim Kaspari, who is the owner of Peak Business Coaching. And we've been talking this morning about a variety of subjects, but primarily how to keep a positive attitude in this coronavirus time and things that people can do to really make a difference. In things. So I have failed to announce. If you're on Facebook, you can see us doing. You can see us actually live, but we do have the amazing E with us this morning, and we have Jim on the radio. So, Jim, let's kind of get down to it. What practical, day-to-day things can people be doing to really work on this positive attitude to move themselves forward?
I think that I can answer that in just a few words, and then I'll give some examples.
Okay.
It's like the oxygen mask on an airplane. It's about self-care and self-love first. So to get out of fear, anxiety, so get enough sleep. It could be as simple as drinking a glass of water every hour. And then, let's see, so sleep, meditate, gratitude journal, cardio. So that could be just taking walks. I even put together a little bit of like a lifting workout. So I can do planks, I can do squats, I can do toe raises. What is it that you can do without any equipment or, so eating well, flossing, just, I actually have a sticky note right here on my desk that has all my self-care items because I can get really busy. I can be helping my clients and I forget to take care of myself. Oh, I'm like 2 p.m. Oh, I didn't eat breakfast or lunch. So self-care is really important. And the more we take care of ourselves, the more we can help others.
Oh, amen to that. And the one thing to leave out that you left out is technology. Just be very careful of your technology usage and make sure you just have time reading, writing, visiting with family or taking time to be together, not just tune out through this whole process by watching TV, checking out, whether it's Netflix or, the news and stuff, is just be really careful of that. That's like the easy way out of going through the process is really not going through it and sitting on the sidelines.
That's such a good point. Like using TV or other things to escape or numb your brain. My heart sings when I hear these stories about people, just spending quality time with their kids, with their family. And then I'm hearing stories about people like, anyway, we've talked enough about the negative side, but what's happening is what's happening. What are we going to do with it? So people are learning languages. People are taking up instruments. Like I'm learning Spanish on an app called Duolingo, and it's super fun. If you have a business or you have responsibilities, put treats in between, like even stopping, taking 5 deep, long breaths and drinking a glass of water like that. Just whatever it is that feeds you call a friend, call one of your parents, call somebody you love. These are the things that will keep us fed and well during a time like this.
Yeah, so let's just summarize that real quick. So, the first thing when you talk about self-love, taking care of yourself, getting enough sleep. And that part of that is not having too much screen time, especially right before you go to bed. The UV from the TV or your cell phone or your iPad or whatever will disrupt your sleep patterns and will make it more difficult to sleep. So, you should put an hour between screen time and going to bed. That's really what's been recommended, and I found that to be very useful. So getting enough sleep, especially if you don't have to go to work, or you don't have to be commuting. If you're working from home, you've knocked out that commute. So getting enough sleep, staying hydrated, drinking enough water, right? Not all coffee and Red Bull all day, but getting enough water in your system is really critical for, your brain to function properly. Meditating is a wonderful thing, and that's a big topic that we can talk about later. But I do want to dive into this journaling issue. So I know, Jim, you have published the book Peak Profits Business Journal, which is available. And, talk to us about the advantages of journaling. What does that mean, and what do you do with it?
And how your book is designed. It's really great.
Thank you so much. And it's available on Amazon, Peak Profits Business Journal. And if you type in my name, you can see my 4 books. It's easy to find. Jim Kaspari, Kaspari. Enough about that. The way it's designed is to build a solid business foundation first. The corporate culture is the foundation of your business, the goals, the plans, the mission, the vision, the purpose, the values. So there's a few chapters up front to really refresh you and tell you exactly how to build that foundation for you. Then it's really simple. On the left side of the page for each week is your action plan. So what do you want to accomplish? What are the 2-3 major things that are going to move you forward this week? And it all comes from your high level strategic plan, your medium and long-term goals. And then you break that down into little action chunks, and week by week, you make progress towards your goals. So on the left side is your goals, your plans. It's also a spot for important birthdays, events, milestones. And then on the right side of the page, you can journal your thoughts. What did you learn? What were some aha moments? What were your accomplishments? Pat yourself on the back.
All right. So what did we learn from Legalese with Mike Chastaine? Right. That would be something that you would put in your journal, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And then there's a small section on the right side of the page at the bottom. What are your notes for next week's plans, resolutions, recommitments? Like we all have. I just dropped my phone. 1 second. I get all excited and walking around. Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that propels us forward is getting things done. But a big one that we can do during this time is changing habits. So really thinking big picture, long term. What are the things that aren't serving us that we can stop doing? What are the things that we can start doing? Those ideas we were talking about, from asking powerful questions and using a journal on a daily, weekly basis. I highly recommend on the left side of the page, just put 2 or 3 things that you get done week after week, and they're going to be different things. But if you have something on the left side of the page and you commit to that at the beginning of the week and you don't get it done at the end of the week, you want to ask yourself and use journaling as a tool to get clarity. Is this something that I really want to do? Is it something that I'm going to move forward? Is my goal powerful enough? What am I going to get out of achieving that goal? And when you look at your why, then you can go back to that action and recommit. None of us are perfect, but this journaling process is what's going to move us forward and develop those good habits, and also really congratulate ourselves at the end of the week. So the journal is fantastic, and I'm just gonna, I know we're going to a break soon, but I want to point out, don't try to do this alone. Get a business coach, get another entrepreneur, a friend, get an accountability partner. I have my own coach, I have mentors, I have accountability partners, I have friends that I respect that they have good values, they have good integrity, they love to help people, they come from the heart. Those are the kind of people I surround myself with, and I get advice from. So journaling and then having a support crew that's positive and above that emotional line is what's going to help you the most.
Okay, yeah, and just one thing I want to point out: if you've been journaling for a period of time, and I have been, it's always interesting to go back. So I always go back to my journal from last year. Where was I at this time last year? What was going on in my life? And you really can start seeing progress on a whole variety of things. What was going on?
Legal stuff and crazy adventures. Legalese with Mike Chastaine on KSAC, Money 105.5 FM.
And good morning, Sacramento. Welcome back to Legalese. We're so pleased that you're joining us, whether you're joining us on the radio or joining us via Facebook Live. Welcome. We're so pleased that you're here. We've had the great privilege of having a special guest this morning, Jim Kaspari, the owner of Peak Business Coaching. We've been talking about some of the ways to really be positive and proactive in this very unusual time that we find ourselves in. I am going to want to take a little bit of time here at the very end to talk about what's going on in the court system. So, Jim, we're going to have you back because big topic here.
Yeah, there's so much more I'd love to go into detail with.
But what would if you had, an elevator ride with somebody and you needed to give them one piece of advice to, really survive this, what would you tell them? What do you think the most important thing for people to do is right now?
Okay, so we thank you guys again for having me on the show, and the three of us being able to share this positive light during such a tough time. So I got in the elevator, the door closed, and I would just say, just start it. One of my favorite sayings has always been Nike's, just do it. But sometimes when we think about the big picture or taking an action or, writing a book or whatever, it's daunting, and it just stays on the to-do list and it doesn't get done. And for me, breaking it up into little chunks, and even if it's a big chunk, if it's something I've never done before, I'm afraid I'm going to screw it up or, whatever, every single time I just start it, I make progress. And if I run into a bump in the road and then I sleep on it or go for a run, then ideas come and I can make progress. So, like I said, get out of your mind and just start it. Whatever it is that's going to move you forward, whatever it's going to, depending on the situation in your life. Is it get a job? Is it, whatever is going to make your life better, just start it.
Yeah. A good friend and mentor of ours, Richard James, has the slogan, action kills fear. And it's fear that holds you back, and action will make that fear, put fear in its place. So, well, thank you, Jim. And as you say, someone can get your Peak Profits Business Journal through Amazon. Just put in Peak Profits or Jim Kaspari, and you'll be able to find it there. A great book for business journaling, particularly.
I think you can also do this for just I was looking at it, Jim, you can absolutely do this just for your, not for your business, but your personal.
Yeah. Well, you may not
whatever goals.